Virtual space travel.
In today's video, we're going to be talking about Apollo and Artemis. Let's get going. So, Apollo was a $200 billion program made by NASA, and they were competing between the Soviet Union and the United States of America. The Soviet Union beat the US in being the first country to bring people to space, being the first country to bring people to orbit the Earth, and many more achievements, like the first man walking in space with a spacesuit, of course. The US did it shortly after the Soviet Union, but they still were getting defeated. So the US put all their money into trying to get to the moon. And in 1969, in Apollo 11, the United States successfully reached the moon, and Neil Armstrong was the one who was leading it. And they all landed, the first humans to ever land on the moon, and the only people to landed on the moon was by the United States so far. That was the Apollo. And they kept doing launches until Apollo 17. Not all of them were successful, of course. And they stopped. The last launch that was ever made to the moon, which brought people to the moon, was in 1972. And after 1972, the program got closed. And there was no more, the United States brought no more people to the moon. And even now, the US does not have people on the moon. And the people who lived in 1969 and saw that happen were not expecting that it would take so long for us to get back, that we wouldn't have left the moon for good. And there have been many ideas of going back to the moon. Like, for example, that we were supposed to have gone to the moon in 2009, but then it got closed down. So we have not returned to the moon since Apollo. And there's a new program that's supposed to go to the moon, and that program was created, and it's called Artemis. It's supposed to be an ancient Greek myth, the sister of the god of the moon. And it's still related to Greek myths about the moon. And so this mission is supposed to go back to the moon. So the idea is, in 2022, in late 2022, a spacecraft will launch. It'll go around the moon and come back without any people. Then in 2023, a spacecraft will go. It'll orbit the moon with people this time. In 2024, we're going to land a rover on the moon. And in 2025, we're going to bring people back to the moon. However, in 2022, which is very recently, in summer of 2022, there was a leak problem. So they delayed the launch of Artemis for a week. After that week, they realized another problem. Then, after that, they realized the first problem wasn't solved. And this is really bad for NASA. Because they have to launch, because this is going to have huge delays. And the reason why there's so many delays is because NASA is using old technology, a different type of technology that they can have many errors. So, however, right now, the Artemis SLS rocket, which is the one which is supposed to bring us to the moon, is now sitting on the waiting pad. And they're trying to fix the problem. And so they brought it back to the waiting pad, which is a few hours. And that means that means it won't launch in very soon. They'll have to fix the problem, and then go back there. Alright, that's all for today.
Please subscribe and hit the notification bell.